What's up, people? I am back. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I just wanted to get this video out. So, I was supposed to do this yesterday, but decided to push it to today. Rambo we'll watch tonight, and then I'll review First Blood tomorrow. So that'll be tomorrow night. I will review that one. But today we're gonna do for right now the last of the Eddie Murphy movies. I'll definitely come back because we gotta do, like Coming to America and stuff like that. So I'll probably get back to those eventually. But this is the one I have not watched in years. I remember watching this one as a kid, called The Golden Child. This one came out in '86, and I think this was like in between. This was after the first Beverly Hills Cop, and in between, before he did the second one, which will come out in '87. And I really like this movie. This movie is almost like Eddie Murphy just plopped in like this. He has this save the world big storyline. The world's in danger and they have to save this kid. And the fact that it's like they just plopped Eddie Murphy in this world is crazy. Because the plot is not something usually Eddie Murphy does. Like, for the most part, Eddie Murphy's movies are grounded in reality. Like, Beverly Hills Cop, he's a cop. Even in, like, Coming to America, there's, like, up until this point, he had not done, like, anything big like this. So it's crazy. But the crazy thing is, even though it is this big save the world storyline, it still feels like a small, contained film in a way. They did a really good job. Charles Dance was awesome as the villain. That scene in the airport is so good between the two. Charles Dance in general plays a great back. I mean, he was the bad guy in Last Action Hero. He was the bad guy in I think also in King of the Monsters, which I will review at some point. Thought he was really good in that. So, and that was a more recent film. So it's crazy. Like, he still has. I mean, obviously he was. I think he was Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones. I'm not the biggest Game of Thrones person, but Charles Dance is such a great actor. So he was great in this as the villain. Um, and basically, the main story is this boy, the Golden Child, who's basically supposed to be like this hope for humanity. He has like all this power, gets kidnapped by these terrorists who kill his fellow monks and kidnap him, and basically, um, so Sardo, I think, is the villain's name. That's Charles Dance. So they Key, who's is signed one of the people who help save the Golden Child, sees social worker Chandler Gerald, who's looking for missing kids, and they see him as like this chosen one. And basically, throughout the film, he's basically a skeptic, and he's like, "Y'all are fucking with him." He's like, "Y'all fucking with me," and I think those scenes are fucking great because it is a realistic, like, if somebody was just thrust in that position, it would be that you wouldn't just instantly believe it. And it's just and basically that's really the movie. It's the race to save this kid. Um, and then obviously some hijinks along the way. And this is once again like where you have like movies that are comedies, but they still have like serious moments. I mean, there's a scene where I think like a random girl gets murdered. Um, who's like I think she's like 16, so like a little teenage girl gets murdered randomly. So like it's what I mean. Like this movie, while it's a fun comedy, there is some serious moments in it. Not as much, and you have this girl named Key who's straight up trained in fighting. So Hollywood, like once again, Hollywood acts like there weren't strong women in the '80s, even though there were. She's an example. She was like fucking kicking dudes' ass in this movie, you know. And I actually like her character. I think initially when I first rewatched it, I was like, eh. I thought initially she was gonna be kind of mad, but she actually really grew on me as a character. Because mainly because I hadn't watched this movie in years, so I just think it's an all around fun one. So definitely would recommend. I mean, if you're a big Eddie Murphy fan, this is one of his best movies. So So this movie opens up. We're open up in present day Tibet. We see the golden child. I'm gonna see if he has a name. I don't know if I wanted. Oh wow, I guess they do just call him the golden child. He doesn't have any other name. So we just see him using his powers in Tibet, but we see these group of men break in, they kill all the monks, and then they kidnap the boy. So basically, it's pretty dark open. I mean, I even like, even though this movie's PG-13, like it's. I mean, they curse a few times and stuff like that. Like this was back when like PG-13 still like had some edge to it, you know, and it was like once again, yeah. While this movie is kind of a comedy, we did just see a group of guys just get slaughtered in the opening. So it's not gory or anything, but you just like you do see him get killed in the background. So they kidnap the boy. Then we jump. We have like this super kind of like quasi Beverly Hills Cop similar opening of LA where we see Chandler just kind of walk, you know, and do his little, you know, do his thing, putting missing signs. You got this like super 80s music playing. You know, has a funny scene with some guy who's like reading a porno mag in the beginning. It's pretty funny. Like, that's why like I say Beverly Hills Cop esque because you got like that 80s music playing and stuff like that. Then he goes on the show. This is where we're introduced to Key, who's watching the show, where this guy is looking for missing Cheryl Mosley. Key seeks him out, but you know initially, Eddie or Chandler, you know, obviously scoffs like about the missing boy, so he kind of shrugs it off. But then the very next day, um, Cheryl Mosley is found killed. Um, like, well, it's pretty dark opening. So we see him at the crime scene along with I think a detective, I'm assuming, and so then he looks in. Chandler finds this cup of oatmeal, but he notices blood in it. And then multiple moments in the movie would kind of cut in between. We would see the child actually interacting with one of what's the villain's name again? Sardo's minions. You know, like kind of like he makes like and actually like the practical effects are pretty good. Where he makes like this practical effect of like this out of an aluminum can, making it like walk and move. I actually think they did a really good job, especially for the time. This is 1986, so I think they did a really good job with that. And then Sardo walks in and is trying to make the boy eat blood. Because I think blood like weakens his powers. I think that's what the movie was saying. Then Chandler meets with Key again because he noticed initially Chandler knows about she's been following him around and she's basically saying that the murders are linked. So the murder is linked to the disappearance of the golden child. So she takes him to Dr. Hong, played by where is it? James Hong, I've seen him in a few movies, and then I thought he did a decent job in this. And then she introduces a mystic expert named Keela or Kala, who's actually a half creature dragon. She's hidden behind like this thing, and she tells him about like he has to get the dagger, some sort of dagger, and then so they track down this motorcycle game named the Yellow Dragons. Um, Chandler initially goes by himself, and he tries to tell her don't follow, but she does follow him, and this is where it's revealed she's actually a super trained fighter, and so we get this like elaborate big fight scene where she has to like rescue him from because he was getting. God damn it! I'll get it in a second. Um, so he gets she helps him escape, and then before knocking out this one guy, they get the info that they sold her body. They sold her for blood to a restaurant, Chinese restaurant, or Tommy Tong. So so they go to Tommy Tong. Tommy Tong tries to fight and run away. Key and Gerald Chain chase him, but um, Sardo shows up and kills Tong. Pretty brutal, almost like a horror movie. Just it's PG-13, but you do see his body and a little bit of blood. And initially, she thinks he killed. She thinks Chandler did it, and he didn't. So then Sardo wakes up, takes Chandler into a controlled dream. Very Nightmare on Elm Street, like I'm gonna say it. The way the dream scene felt like. So basically, he brought both of them in to warn them, like, no, stay away, or be warned. Kind of warn them, like, to stay away. Um, he wants a simple dagger in exchange for the boy. And then it turns out to get the dagger, they have to go to Tibet. And this is where you clearly Key and Chandler have a thing. So she agrees to finally come. It's like throughout the film, he tries to ask her to come up, and she's because she's staying with him, but she's staying in her car while he goes up to his house. So initially, he finally asks her, but she agrees mainly to convince him to go to Tibet with her, and he finally agrees. Really, I actually like the dynamic between the two of them. So they both go to Tibet. Chandler gets swindled by a swindled, but then it turns out the person who swindled him is the ancient high priest, and he has to obtain the dagger, and he has to basically do this like walk on this like bottomless cavern without like spilling water. Pretty good scene. Like this was just a fun movie. Like I said, is Eddie Murphy just being plopped in this like he has to save the universe type of movie, So he manages to get the dagger, and then we get a funny scene where he has to take it into customs, and he puts the dagger in somebody else's pocket, and then he acts like he's some customs agent. It was a pretty funny scene. The moments where Eddie Murphy does that, he's playing like a character, is fucking hilarious. I love it. So he manages to get the dagger back. Hold on. And he manages to get the dagger back. Then they get back to the airport. Sardo posing as like so he confronts Sardo, who initially gets cops to like say he got something he owns. And the fucking back and forth between the two was so fucking funny. So they agree to a meet up, for a swap, the child for the dagger. It was the funny just back and forth between the two. Just like I said, Charles Dance is such a good villain. Even though like in the middle he doesn't do a lot, he's more of a monologue villain. He's not like just killing people left and right. I think I still like him. I really love his like that scene. Just that scene alone is so fucking great. So that night, he wants to hook up, but I think, but I don't know if it was because Chandler just didn't feel ready, so he turned her down because she was like, "Are you gonna come to bed?" And he says no. Then that night, um, he gets attacked in his house, and then Chandler manages to get away, but he, who get, um, so they take the dagger, and Key ends up getting shot with an arrow because she takes an arrow for him, and this is where blah. This is where it's revealed she's actually in love with him. And there's a scene where she even asks her father approval for marriage. It's a really good scene. So it's actually really sad. Like, so Hong and Kala offer him hope and say he has to get the child, and the child can bring her back basically. So he breaks in to Sardo's hideout, takes out some guys, and one of Sardo's men, to say this is Sardo's men, the guy who, was getting entertained by the boy, turns on helps Chandler get the boy, and Chandler confronts Sardo, but this Sardo turns into his true form, which is this winged demon. The effects for the time are really good, and I would assume this movie is probably not super high budget because it's not a sequel, and stuff like that. And I thought for the budget they did, it looked pretty good. So he gets in the car, he manages to go to the location where Key's being kept. They're about to bring the boy and Chandler are about to bring Key back, but then Sardo in demon form confronts them, and then the child uses the magic, and the child is an okay character. He's really a MacGuffin if we're gonna use that word, but it's fine. It makes sense, and you do see him throughout the film, in certain scenes. So he gets the dagger back into Chandler's hands, and Chandler kills um, Sardo, and then uses the last of the sunlight, and the child is able to bring Key back. And then it's kind of implied that they adopt him in a way that like they pretty much Chandler adopts um, Talk, returning the child to the bed, and him and Key are together, and they kind of walk off into the sunset. This is a really fun film. I really like it. The soundtrack's really good. It's nice in 80s. And one thing about 80s soundtracks is that you will always you're gonna always have that like techno sounding soundtrack, and it works. Especially like Terminator, like that ominous type of music, and I think it works. Once again, while this film is a comedy, there is some like you see people get slaughtered in the beginning. A girl gets killed because they needed her blood. It's pretty dark if you think about it in a way. It's a And I think that was the thing. Like, even if a movie was a comedy back then, they were allowed to like be dark with it. But yeah, I definitely enjoy this film. I think it's a fun one, and the premise of like this is like Eddie Murphy being plopped in this super serious save the universe storyline. It's so good. And what I like is Eddie Murphy's like acting like how most people would react. Now you're supposed to be like this chosen one who's supposed to help save the world, and you're just a guy who's just trying to help find missing kids, and you're living his normal life, and now you got to do all this crazy chosen one stuff. So it's like funny to see him like kind of scoff at it, but all around great film. His dynamic with Key was great. I thought Key was a fun character, you know. But according to feminists, there weren't strong women before, Captain Marvel. She was a fun character, and I thought his dynamic with her was great. They had some fun chemistry. Charles Dance as Sardo was great. I thought he was an awesome villain. That scene in the fucking airport is so fucking good, man. It's such a good scene. wrong. This is a really good movie. Like, I like the set pieces were great, and this was like prime time Eddie Murphy, man, in that like in the '80s when he was just doing like fucking hits left and right. So, but yeah, guys, I would give this film an 8 out of 10. I think this is one of his best. Definitely would recommend if you just want a fun Eddie Murphy movie that is a bit different compared to his other ones. You know, he's this guy plopped in this like save the universe story, you know, but it's a fun one. So I definitely would recommend. But tomorrow I will be reviewing Rambo. I cannot fucking wait. Rambo First Blood is probably one of. I can understand people who say that's like one of their best or one of the favorites or their favorite action film. I can understand people who do that. It is a good one. So yeah. But other than that, I'm gonna cheers to this movie. But other than that, fuck Warner Brothers, fuck Disney, fuck La Bitch James. He's such a bitch made motherfucker. Fuck Colin Kaepernick. Fuck Joy Reid. Fuck Kevin Smith. And fuck Joe Biden and his administration. I'll see you guys tomorrow for my Rambo First Blood review. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. I know I already said that. Peace.